such a pleasure to have you here, everyone. I can see you tuning in, but let's get started. Good evening, everyone. I am Tanya Sam, host of the Tanya Time Book Club, a community built on storytelling, sisterhood, and celebrating diverse voices in literature. Every month, every week, we dive into stories that not only entertain, but illuminate new corners of the human experience and sisterhood. And I will say, few of the novels that we have captured and read have resonated so much with me personally, as much as this month's pick. So, Onyi, we are so excited to have you. A couple housekeeping things as I will get through. So we also read together, we travel together. I'm not going to go into it in detail now, but if you stay, guys, we're going to talk about Get Lit and Travel, our New Orleans Memorial Day trip. I'm going to talk about that after. Number two, stay for the after party. Onyi, we're going to try to keep you to 45 minutes, an hour tops, so that you can go back. We have a lot of questions, but we'll try to get you out of here on time. So stay tuned for the after party. The after party's fun, y'all. This is where we get a little crunk. We talk about all things pop culture, anything. Cameras on. I want to know what you're reading, what you're watching. I want to talk all the tea, whether it's like Shannon Sharp or whatever it is, but it's a fun time. We sort of go down the rabbit hole of fun and pop culture. Secondly, I want to introduce my co-host on the show tonight, Jeanell English. Jeanell is my co-founder, co-host at Elizabeth and Minnie Publishing. I'm just going to hand it over to you, Jeanell, to say a few words, and then we are going to dive right in with Onyi, and of course, we're going to allow her to introduce herself.
Yes, we are. My few words have just been said because I'm so excited to dive in. Y'all will hear from me later, but let's go ahead and jump in. Onyi, we're so excited to have you. People have been like waiting for this conversation. Like the chats over the past few weeks have been just lit. So, yeah, give us a little intro. Let's start with hearing a little bit more about you. I'm also really curious what inspired you to even write this book. So, if you can wrap that into the intro, we'd love it.
So hello everybody. Thanks once again for having me. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be here. I am Onyi Nwabinelli. I am a Nigerian British writer currently living in London. Um, some fun facts about me: writing is not my full-time job. I actually have a full-time day job in tech. So
Oh,
writing is not my full-time career. And I also I'm the founder of Black Pens, which is this wonderful writing retreat that I have for Black women. And we're currently in Greece this week. So that is why it is 2 a.m. where I am currently at the moment. Um, and to answer your question, Jeanell, the inspiration from for this book, allow me to introduce myself. It came quite a long time ago. I used to be a huge consumer of like the early mommy bloggers back in the
mhm.
day, like the early ones in the 2000s when that big boom happened. I used to love that kind of content. And after a while, I sort of kind of thinking, I've been following these women and their families for years. I've kind of I'm watching these children grow up. I don't know who these children are. I've never met them. It's a bit weird. It's a bit strange. And I started thinking about it from my own lens, how I would feel if I was a child whose entire childhood had been showcased and presented for strangers online. I have three godchildren, and I have a very young niece and nephew. And so it kind of became this whole children in social media thing kind of became a personal project of mine and something I became really passionate about. And that's where the idea for the book came.
Well, I love that. And I will say my one of my sisters, I'd read Someday Maybe and loved
Mhm.
it. There's themes of grief in there. I've had my own grief experience. So she sent this to me. She's like, this woman must have experienced something. She writes with such passion and she understands it. And that's another book. But then she sent it to me because she's got a new book. And I've done my own sort of dalliance on reality TV,
Mhm.
which really exposes you to sort of the right for society to know
Yeah.
everything about you. And it sort of destroys the barriers and boundaries that the average person is entitled to. And Anjuri's story was incredible and also like very fascinating. But I want to start off at this idea of like parasocial relationships, which I've learned and sort of dived into very much. I think I learned about it on a couple podcasts and went into it. So now that you're on the other side of this and you've done research to write this book, what is your take on it, and what is your stance, or and how do you use social media in your life? As all, honestly, how I also contacted you through
Yeah.
Instagram.
I mean, let's be so real, Tanya. Like we're all hypocrites, myself included, because we're all on social media and we're all looking at these things, we're all consuming content. And I'll speak for myself, I can't speak for everyone else. Before writing this book, I very rarely took a step back to actually interrogate some of the things that I was looking at, right? Anyone that knows me knows I'm a huge Beyonce fan, and part of the Beehive, proud card-carrying member of the Beehive, and
Yes.
it's like that's my cousin, and so you develop these, you can start off as a fan, and then you can start developing these, like you've mentioned, parasocial relationships where it's like you're drifting dangerously into stan territory where I mean, I haven't been there. I have kept my feet on the ground. I've not gone insane yet, but you're attacking people online in the name of someone that has no idea that you exist. You're going off on the deep end around some of these things, and it's like when I see that online, I'm like, okay, let me check myself just to make sure that I'm not straying too far. And yeah, it's just I understand, especially in this age that we're living in, especially exacerbated by things like the pandemic, where people were isolated and they want to have connection, often with people that they may not ever meet. They're building affinity with, like, even if you've got this book club here, you're building connections with people from various places around the world. And it can, if you don't make a conscious effort to like maintain just a shred of like sanity, it can get out of control. And I understand it. But yeah, it with things like influencers and with things like children as well, it can start getting a little bit creepy. So that's again something I wanted to explore with Allow Me to Introduce Myself.
It's you had me check myself, honestly, in
Mm,
terms of what I was watching because I love the baby videos. Like
mm,
I think half of my content in my algorithm is dogs and also like babies. Like
yeah.
that's literally it. But what I thought was so interesting is how you push us to really reflect on what happens when that child gets older, right?
Mm,
Because we saw Anori who at 14, started to realize that this felt a little exploitative in terms of, how she was being exposed. And I'm curious, were there any particular experiences that you had in the real world that kind of pulled that particular strand out? I know you have godchildren and all of that, but have you seen some of those responses before? And was that part of what gave you this perspective to write from?
yeah, so the thing is, with me, I I didn't experience anything personally, I will say that, but I try to be quite observant, especially with things that I enjoy.
Mm,
So, we moved on a lot from the mommy blogger kind of world, and we've moved more into the YouTuber family vlogger type of world. So
mm,
I would consume that content back in the day as well. And I started seeing certain comments on Instagram posts, on YouTube videos that just gave me pause. People were being quite demanding of the
Mhm.
families and especially of the children.
mm.
Where is this child? Why haven't you shown this child in like 3 videos? What are you going to do with their hair? What are you going to? And I'm kind of like, you don't know these people. Do you not feel a bit strange making these outrageous demands of human beings? These are human beings that you are talking to, and they are children.
Yeah,
And
children.
so when I started seeing things like that, and also another thing that gave me pause is that many of these comments were anonymous, no faces, no names, or like a screen name, that kind of thing. You can say anything and you can do anything, and there's no real repercussions for that kind of behavior. And I'm not a parent, but like I said, I have children in my life, and
Mhm.
I'm like extremely protective of those children. And I'm just imagining how I would feel if I saw those comments directed to any of the children in my life. And my head started getting hot. I'd be like, I'll fight all of you. Like, I'll fight
Yeah.
all of you. So, yeah, I think seeing that in real time and wondering what effect it would have on these children, maybe nothing at the moment. But like you said, as they start to grow up, as they start to actually understand what they are sacrificing in order to live the life that they have, it starts getting a little bit interesting. Yeah.
I found, what was so interesting too, had to double think how, I the same way. I have nieces and I love them so much and I want to share them because they're so cute.
Mm,
And I asked my sister, she was like okay with it sharing her kids, but
mm,
also this book in particular, and of course the introduction of Noelle really made me think twice about it because we think
mm.
we're sharing it for people that are like us, sweet and kind and just
Yeah.
want to see cute babies, but there is a darker side. Um,
Yeah.
I am going to pause there and remind you guys this is your time. So get your questions for Onyi. It's not me and Jeanell. Ask your questions, take your camera off. Please drop your questions in the chat. And I am going to ask you a question, Onyi. If you were to
Mm.
finish a sentence, and I'm going to ask everybody to answer the question themselves in the chat, the internet would be a better place if we all just
Turned it off. Literally, at this point, at this point,
So
like,
dark.
because we've been asked this question a lot. I'm like, people ask me, do
chill.
you think at this point that the internet on social media,
Stop
especially,
commenting.
is a net positive or a net negative? And at this point, I'm like, do you know what? Do you know what? At this
Ooh,
point,
I know.
especially
No.
with the introduction of AI, turn it off, burn it all to the ground. It's really, it's
Do you think we would
really burn it.
survive? Because here's the thing. It is such a
Mhm.
like and I love the comments coming in, give grace, relax. Like I have literally met like my book besties on this. Like we all traveled together and it helped us
Mhm.
come through the pandemic, but at the same time, it's a terrible place at times. So I love everyone's questions.
Yes, it is. I love the comments too. I'm like, yes, just mute it. Like,
Mhm.
love and respect. Doesn't that seem like such a common, like, it should be just a
No,
common
Would be that
commonality
simple.
amongst people.
Yeah.
But it is that spirit of anonymity that has created some
golden.
of the darkness that the internet can have. And actually, you introduced me to another part of the internet called Findom. Didn't even know that existed until reading
Take us
this
there,
book.
Janelle, right into it.
I had to. I was like, this was a part of the internet that I had never explored. And full transparency amongst friends, I may or may not have had Sean on our team sit and research Findom with me. Like I didn't know it existed. But it's so interesting. And something that I really loved about how you write is you brought in kind of this rage and grace and like curiosity into and even softness into this story. And I'm curious how you balanced finding that like that rage and that compassion, particularly in sharing a story that wasn't familiar to you directly. Like, how did you strike that balance? Where did you get that inspiration from?
Well, I think one thing to know about me, because people ask this about Someday Maybe as well, because that has it's quite heavy subject matter, but it's
Yeah.
also a very funny book. And when people ask me about this, I'm like, at my core, I'm a very deeply unserious person. I am constantly laughing. Like
Really? Because
I'm
you write heavy
constantly,
books.
yeah.
Okay, be
I'm
book
constantly
besties with all of
laughing.
us.
I'm constantly making jokes. I'm just constantly trying to, even when something is really heavy and dark and serious, I will try and inject some levity in there because that's life, right? We are humans and we are all multifaceted. We're not just one thing. So we're not all just going to be, you know, heavy all the time. We are going to laugh at things. We are going to make jokes. We're going to try and move through whatever dark time that we're experiencing. And I felt with this kind of subject matter, it's important, right? Amory is a very messy. She's a complex character. She is trying to find who she is. She's trying to introduce herself into the world after she's come out of this situation where everything has been planned out and curated and then packaged up and presented to the public. She's still figuring out who she is, and she's also at the same time trying to make her own way in the world, and that involves money.
Mm,
So things like bringing the darker side of like financial domination and pay pigs and like the lighter side of her having a hair hut and a stylist business. I had to balance those two things together because they're two sides of her, right?
Yeah.
One that makes her extremely happy and that is being taught to her by her auntie who she's very close to. And is a vehicle to make others happy. And then this other side of things, which she doesn't try to interrogate too much, because it's like, if I say what I want to say, then that ties back to my deadbeat father. And I don't want to go there. I just want to make money. Like, I don't want to think about it too much. So it was a very deliberate choice on
Where
my
did you
on
even find it? That's what,
yeah.
like, when I tell
Oh,
you, we read the book and we have an expression, it's like a book clap. I was like, what is happening? Like, where did that, like, where I get it. And we appreciate you. Like, your writing is so beautiful and nuanced.
mm,
It's like Jeanell says, but you
mm,
had these like incredible polar opposites of her using this fandom and these PayPal pay pigs, but then, you tied it so beautifully, craftfully, if possible, into her dad. And maybe this is
mm.
sort of, and you use the therapist to sort of edge that out. But
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, it's again involves her being on the internet. It's
Mm.
masterful.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I know more than one financial dominatrix, believe it or not.
Oh,
They exist. They
I want
exist.
to meet them. I have so
And
many questions, but
they are
yeah,
they are amazing people. They are fascinating.
I'm sure.
And literally one of the lines that I wrote in the book is a line that I think to myself all the time. I'm like, so I'm insulting men for free and you are doing it and being paid. I have missed the boat somewhere. I have lost something along the way. But yeah, so I know financial dominatrix. And other than that, I went as part of my research, I reached out and interviewed a couple. Not my friends, but people I hadn't met before.
yeah.
And I
Did they
said,
make you pay?
they did not. Can you imagine? I was expecting that and I was prepared to, but they didn't. And I said, I want to make sure that I'm presenting this accurately or as accurately as possible. And I also want it to be presented in a way that is, I'm not denigrating your profession. It's a profession.
I think we
And
respected it. Honestly,
yeah,
not one
like
of us in here
I'm
that
not.
wasn't like, so is there a YouTube on how to do this safely and anonymously?
I just like, I
I
think
did. That was me.
it's so interesting, and they're so fascinating, and there's levels to it. Like there's like entry level financial domination, and then there's real big time. I'm talking the big players
Wow.
who are earning so much money that they cannot, their PayPals are shut down consistently because they're earning so much money, who have apartments paid for them, who they're not spending a
Wow.
dime of their own money. And I'm like, and I clock into work every day like a lady.
I love
Yeah.
Exactly. And checking people for free. I'm like, we gotta
Yeah,
on that.
seriously. But it was important to me to make sure that I actually took the time to speak to people that are in that profession, just so I got it right and also get the terminology right. So that's where pay pigs come from. That is the term that they use and so on and so forth. And yeah, and then tying it in with Henri's dad,
Thank you.
who I mean, I mean. A lot of people have reached out to me and said that Ophelia is the villain, but I'm like, is she really?
Yeah.
Because there
Oh,
is
this
someone
is a
else.
great question.
There's someone else that you need to be talking to because
Yes.
Income is, for me, he is the one that we should be talking about because,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to see what other people think about him and what they think about
Guys, put
Ophelia.
it in the chat. Please unmute. Raise your hands if
Can
you
I
would like to.
ask a question?
Please,
Yes. Hey,
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
He said yes. Hi. Um, my question is, you said you interviewed some of the people who work in that industry, but who else did you interview to create characters? Did you interview like a child YouTuber or a
Great
mother?
question.
Yeah, so a lot of the research I didn't want to reach out to children, obviously. I'm not going to do that.
I meant the
I
adult
did,
ones when they grew up.
yeah, so I did make a call for any kind of um former child influencers who would like to talk to me, and I got a couple, which was
Hmm.
really insightful. But do you know what was my main source of research in creating these characters? I went deep into the trenches of Reddit. That's
Wow.
where you find a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And when I first came up with the idea of this book, which was years ago, there was no research out there. There was no articles, there was no peer-reviewed studies around social media and its effects. There was nothing. It's only in the last 5 years or so that these things have started to be talked about in more detail. You see it now, Cosmopolitan, Teen Vogue, like there's just now on Netflix, they've just released that child influencer document. All of these things are coming. People are talking about this now more and more. And I'm so happy about it. But back then when I started, there wasn't really many people to talk about. So it was a combination of a couple of people that were willing to speak to me, and then just a lot of going into Reddit, going into like the deep, deep, deep peer-reviewed articles that I could find. And a lot of it was just actually just sitting back and listening to people talking online about how they want to present their children online, and the children who are like, I don't want to be presented like that
Right.
online. So,
We
yeah.
also talked about the Jeanette McCurdy book, I'm
Yeah.
Glad My Mother is Dead,
Mm.
as
Mhm.
another interesting. I like now you're starting to see
Good
stories
call.
come.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to Nkem because I feel like we had a strong reaction to him and
We
appreciate you
did.
saying like he was the villain. And it's
Tanya,
interesting.
Mm.
the chat's popping off.
Oh, I
We
know.
gotta,
And people were just so, he was just soft and weak. And it's funny because we often read books that have these interesting relationship with the mothers, and we'll get to
Mm.
Ophelia, y'all. But he was one of the ones where, we would give grace to mothers who were like, they were doing the best they could. And we didn't really have a lot of grace for him. He was just,
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah.
He
I don't
felt,
blame you, to be honest.
yeah,
I
he felt
don't.
significant, but also insignificant in a lot of ways. Like his lack of presence and advocacy was so frustrating for me as a reader. And I love what Robin dropped in the chat. Did he resent his daughter or blame her for his wife's death? And there was a moment where, and I think having gone through grief, right? It's hard to really comprehend our feelings sometimes. And it was difficult for me to see this father potentially like blame his daughter who was really carrying on his mother's, life in some capacity. But it did feel like resentment, at least for me, Robin. I'm curious what your thoughts are on you. Was that an intentional play you were looking to bring out?
So, as much as we don't like him, there is MK is a complex character as well, and he is the typical African patriarch, right? He's a
Mm,
patriarchal guy that grew up back home, where everything is very different. So he fell in love young, and he married the love of his life, and they tried for a child, and unfortunately, they lost a number of pregnancies before Amory was born, and
Mm.
they're like, and then in the process of that, he loses the love of his life. And the thing about Inkem that really annoyed me, even while I was writing him, was like, you had help. You had the offer of help from people in your community, from, your deceased wife's parents, from your sister even, and you were just really stubborn about it. And I understand that grief
Mm.
changes you and it reveals you and it alters you. But even in I said in the book, at what point does grief transform into just a complete abdication of responsibility?
mm.
And there's different strands of income that tie into what he becomes, which is basically a deadbeat, emotionally and
Yes.
physically. He was grieving his wife, sure, but he finds somebody who loves him and who is willing to take care of his child and take care of him. And as a patriarchal African man, he's like, finally, I can go to work and I can earn the money, and I have
Be the
somebody who is going to
provider.
do the child rearing for me, and I can step back.
Mm.
And it's not an excuse, but it's a reason. So,
Two
yeah.
questions out of that. Tell us what happens to Nkem in the end. He agreed to bring Noelle to therapy.
Mhm.
And like, what do you see? And I need this question to be answered for so many people, but then I
Mhm.
want to bring back and tie that in. I want to bring in race because
Yeah.
it's also Ophelia, who we haven't touched, is a white woman. So talk
Mhm.
about where Nkem ends in the end. Do you think he wisens up? Do you think he
I
neither?
was gonna ask you guys what you thought was going to happen in the end, because I love to hear from readers to think, what do they actually think happened? Because you can see a softening, you can see a sort of change of direction towards the end of the book in Inkem. But at the same time, he left and then he went back.
Yeah.
So do you really think, what do you think? Do you think that that was the end for him? Do you think that it's a situation where he's trying to bridge the gap? Do you actually think that it's over for Amory and Ophelia? Do you think they will ever have a
Great
relationship again? I
question.
love asking people that. I
Does
love
anyone,
asking.
book clubbers, on mic can tell you because we talked about that last week. Do
Yeah.
we
We
think
did.
that it is irreparable. It is repairable. And I mean, this is a perfect time to start diving into Ophelia. We actually
Mhm.
thought they were both trash. Um, but
Mhm.
we asked, like, do we think that one day they could repair this? I think we went down to no. She would, if she wanted to try, she would have tried. But
I can only speak for myself. If I was Anne Marie, that woman would have been blocked from time. I'm not
Right?
speaking to you. I will speak through. I unfortunately I'll have to speak through my dad, who I don't
Yes.
rate either. But if I want a relationship with my sister, I must maintain contact with one of them, and it's not going to be you. So
Yeah.
for me, I would not have even attempted to prepare that relationship. I gave you so many chances, and you always chose the internet over me. So you've
Yeah.
made your choice. Stick by your choice, but. Um, I don't know. Maybe Aaron's a better person than I am. So,
no.
no.
We did get a question in the chat, and I think it's a good one because it plays on this theme of identity, right? Was it intentional to make the character of Ophelia come from a different cultural background?
Hmm.
Was it essential,
Absolutely.
that she was a white British woman in this story?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know why? One of the main reasons I chose to do that is because in my research, what I found is that interracial content, when
Oh,
it comes to family vloggers and when it comes to mixed race children, is massive. It is
Mm.
huge.
wow.
And I didn't actually understand just how huge it was. I know we have racism, we have colorism, etc. I know those are factors that play into the presentation of children and mixed race babies online. However, actually delving into it, it was so prevalent and it was so obvious and that juxtaposition, it makes for content. It makes for interesting content, right? I'm going to try and do my black child's hair for the first time.
Mhm.
And I'm going to try and do this. And I'm going to wear African clothes for the first time. And I'm going to try ogbono soup for the first time. And I'm going to try and
Mhm,
cook it and feed it to my child. All that stuff gets massive numbers of views. It's very interesting to people to see. And so it was a very conscious choice of mine to make not just make her white, but make her come from the background she comes from. And Ophelia comes from a very interest like you've read about her parents, so
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
like she had it easy either.
Mm.
Again, not an excuse, but and a question that I did want to ask you guys is that do you think originally that she came from a good place, or do you think it was always her plan to find
We
somebody?
talked about this. Oh,
Yeah.
chat. If anyone wants to unmic,
Jump
please
in because
jump
we can
in.
give our thoughts
When you
on.
Uh,
have those in what's the word, excerpts or the little sections before the
Yep.
chapter began,
Yep.
I
Mhm.
had a feeling you were trying to make us have empathy for her, but I
Mhm.
don't know, I still kind of felt saw through the BS, and I
Mhm.
don't know if it's my thinking like, oh, it's because it's a white woman parenting, so that's something, I have to like look within, but I just felt that there were sections throughout the book where we
Mhm.
kind of started to have a little bit of empathy for her and even Kem, the father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I don't
had
know.
empathy personally. I remember very early on in the book where, Ophelia was genuinely caring for this child and then, wanted to just make this child more accessible to her family. And I was like, okay, in theory, that's nice. But then I think she started to get seduced by the likes. Like there was a moment where she was, observing that she got more response and engagement when there was a contrast of skin or like
Mhm.
those different elements started to like show up in her content. And so I have to believe that she wasn't bad. She just got
Mhm.
like seduced too by the internet in
She's
some
bad.
capacity. I have to. Katie disagrees. Go ahead.
No, and
Like,
there's other
yes,
people who would say more
yeah,
about it, but I feel like
yes,
she
the
just
money.
fell down the rabbit hole and she couldn't pull herself
Mhm.
back. And I think she had, nice intentions at the beginning, but you gave us all these breadcrumbs where she's like, I don't really want to work. I met the man.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got the kid. I've got the likes. And she had all the warning signs to pull back and she chose not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
It-
agree.
yeah. That money talks, that internet money.
and
And unfortunately, that is the big driver. Like with this book, I always knew that I would get backlash from the target audience. I
Sure.
knew I would get I backlash, and I have gotten a lot of backlash. But I have had people that reached out and be like, you've made me think about how I present my child online. But I've also had very angry people, which is I knew this going in that I would have
Hmm.
influencers that would not like what I had written.
Hmm.
But I never back down from a fight. So I'm like, bring up, like, come at me. Let's chat. Let's
Talk
talk
about it.
about it. Yeah, let's
Who
talk about
who
it.
was
Um,
our villain though for you in this? Like, was the internet the bad guy for, lack of better terminology? Because you saw as well, Anuri even following into her like findom
yeah,
world, etc. She still had to kind of exist and have a relationship
yeah.
with, the internet in some capacity. Like, was there,
I don't
going
think the
there?
internet's the problem because the internet
Yeah.
is people, right? It's always people at the end of the day, isn't it?
Hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, as human beings, we can take something that is informative, that is beautiful, and we can turn it to trash, which is really unfortunate. But that's just the way of the world, unfortunately. So for
Yeah.
me, the villains of the novel were the parents, were Ophelia and Income,
Yeah.
because they had so many opportunities to show up for a child they were supposed to love, and they chose not to do that. Even when she told them that, even when she aged out of being quiet and was able to express and articulate that this was hurting her, and they chose to ignore that. And for me, that's unforgivable. When your child is telling you clearly that they are hurt and that they need you to go in a
Yeah.
different direction, and you are saying, I hear you, however, I'm going to choose to do something else. I don't think that
Yeah.
that's forgivable. So for me, Inkem and Ophelia were the villains, but also I think Amory's doubt of herself
Mm.
also, and
Hmm.
her stubbornness as well was a bit of a villain, because she knows that she's learning, but at the same time she's so hard-headed in a lot of ways. She's unwilling to listen to people that may know a little bit better than her. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Tamara, I saw you raised your hand, and I know we argued over this, so I'm wondering if you want to chime in about your thoughts on Ophelia.
Yeah, so
Bad.
my sister and I have gone back and forth on this, but I know that she is tragically flawed. I have empathy for her being a mom and also considering going down that blogging, Instagram mom life world, because when you get to a point as a mother and you kind of feel like the only way I can earn my own keep and still be a mom who has a flexible life is through
Mm.
that avenue. And
Mm.
so for her, like, I really don't think she started out that way. I have
Mhm.
empathy for her because I've thought in similar fashion. And, I pulled back though a lot because of your book, or I'm still on the fence as far as how I convey my children on, you know, on the internet. But I
Mhm.
definitely feel that empathy. And I agree when your kid at some point is telling you one thing, then yeah, she crossed over to the dark side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was that point. As the number one consumer of all of your children online, I'm like, ooh, we love them. No, but it's a tough one to balance, I'm sure, as a mother and as a parent. One of the questions that I had, or one of the things I will say that spoke to me a lot was this chosen family that,
Mhm.
she built for herself through her friendships. Like that was so special. I think to see those relationships with Simi and Loki, like those were really, really
Aunties.
special. Yeah.
Mhm.
And her auntie, like I'm curious, like what went into developing those characters? Why were they essential to this story for you in writing it?
I take chosen family. I have a wonderful, wonderful close-knit family in my life, but I also have a fantastic community in chosen family as well. It is so important to me. Those are the loves of my life. And I feel like given everything that Emma was going through at home, and not having that bond with the people that are supposed to protect her and love her from infancy, She needed a soft landing place, and Simi and Loki were her soft landing place, and her auntie was her soft landing place, and she needed that kind of motherly bond that she did not have, unfortunately, because she lost her biological mother before she, she even knew what was happening. And then you can see as the book, with through some of the flashbacks as well, that Aaron loved Ophelia. She loved Ophelia. That was her mom. And then you saw how that relationship started to splinter and how the distance began to happen between the two of them and how much that hurt her. So it was important for her not to be completely alone in the world, but you also saw how she grappled with those relationships that she had with her chosen family, that she still felt that she had to perform for them a lot of the time. Otherwise, they would take away their love or they wouldn't look at her in the same way, which is it was painful to write because that is how, again, that's some of the research that I did. That is how children, not just children online, but children like child actors and so on and so forth. That is how they respond. It's a reward-based relationship. You did this for me, and I will shower you with love and affection. You don't do this for me, and it's going to be a completely different story. So it's difficult when you've grown up that way not to kind of project that onto the other relationships in your life. And you could see that happening not just with Simi and Loki, but also with Christian as well.
Oh, we have to talk about Christian.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's book boyfriend. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
I know. Do we use his Nigerian name or are we calling him Christian? We could call him Christian. I was
You
like,
can call him Chidley if you want.
yes.
But yeah.
We loved him. Okay, I'm going to interject here and ask you guys, and you too, if you had to swap lives with one of your characters for a week, who were you choosing and who were you absolutely not choosing? Y'all put your comments in the chat. You got to live that life for a week. I'm going with Loki because he just looks
Yeah, Loki. That's who I would have chosen as well.
Right?
Hello. Yeah. Or
I
maybe
love Christian.
maybe Celeste. Maybe Celeste. She seems like she was having fun as well.
Celeste on her
Yeah, I
second
think
husband. Simi. Oh, I like Simi too. I mean, all of them. I don't know if I would pick Henry's life. Sorry.
No,
I
I
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
I don't think I would. I would love to explore the fandom space through her at one point, but like I don't think I want to do a whole week of that. It would be a lot, honestly.
Oh, okay. A question about these extras, and we're going to talk about Christian. Talk about Simi and Abe. Like,
Yeah.
did they make it in the end?
They made it in the end. Yeah.
Okay.
They made it there. I
Good.
mean,
We need that.
Sydney, you saw that. She just didn't want to desert her friend in it. She loves her friend. So she was just like, I don't want to leave you for dead now that I found a man. So like,
That was
yeah,
so sweet.
made it,
Okay,
yeah.
Christian, everybody's book boyfriend. Christian
Yeah.
was interesting because he popped up from the very beginning and he was just such an empath and so like willing to let her sort of be. And I mean, even going to a sensory deprivation thing, he just had all these things in his pocket.
Yeah.
At what point did you make the choice, for example? We got very angry when she told him Ophelia's name and he went quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because to someone as sensitive as Onyi, like I would have thought he was gone, he ghosted her. What type of choice was that? And did you write it as he instantly picked up the phone and called her to reassure her, or you knew it was going to be that sort of pensive thinking time for him?
Yeah.
It needed because he basically alluded to the fact that he's also neurodivergent and having not heard of Ophelia or Amri at all, he was just like, I'm coming into this cold. This is a lot of information for me to digest. This is a lot of me to take on. So I wanted people to have empathy for him, to see where he was coming from. He needed time to digest what was in front of him, and also to make the decision about whether or not he actually wanted to proceed with. And if he had chosen not to proceed, I don't think that would have been a terrible thing. He should have told her. I shouldn't have ghosted.
Yeah.
But like, I think if you see that and decide, you know what, that's I'm not going to be able to handle that, I think that's a fair choice as well. So yeah, it was deliberate. He needed his time, but he also went into that phone call when he called her knowing that there was a good chance that she was like, I actually don't want to speak to you again. And he said, well, I was willing to beg. So yeah. Yeah.
Who is Christian? Where can we find him? And I don't know any Nigerian men like this. Like seriously, send them my way.
Fair, my man is like that.
Okay. Well, there's one in real life.
My gosh.
There's one out
Guys,
there.
hope. I
We
love
got
it. Alicia asked a question. How do these relationships contrast with her familial ties, and what do they reveal, these ties? And what do they
Mm.
reveal about the importance of chosen family? I just want to make sure we covered that for you because I think it was really important to have these. Did we cover that, Alicia? Do you need anything else, or do you have anything else to say on that, Onyi?
So I was gonna say, absolutely, the contrast is clear, right? From the beginning. Like it's Simi who is the calm and kind of quiet one, and she clocks what's happening before, and her even clocks what's happening. She's at
yeah.
the fifth or sixth birthday. She's like, this is weird, and like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Like, you seem to be okay with people taking photos of you, but like, if you
No.
don't want
Yeah.
that, you do not have to have that. Like that, I don't have that at my birthday. So like, so she's the one, and then you have Loki, who is also grown up, maybe not as much in the spotlight, but he has famous and rich parents, and
Yeah.
he's not having a typical childhood either, but he still grounds her. And she needed that as opposed to completely disengaged father and a mother who is business, 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 business before everything else. We're
Mhm.
having an Easter family break, but you will do this photo shoot like before you're even allowed to do your Easter egg hunt. Like she's fully about the money, she's fully about the sponsorship, she's about the business side of things. And Ari just needed people who were just happy to be in her presence, not because she's doing anything, just because they love her. That was what was really important for me to convey. And that is the importance of chosen family because, you know, unfortunately, there's still very much this in society, there's very much this push that blood is the most important. It doesn't matter how toxic your family is or how much they've hurt you, you still have to give grace and forgive. And one of my mottos is forgiveness is overrated. Like you
Mhm.
have to like at some point you have to draw boundaries for yourself when you know that you're being hurt. And chosen family allows you to do that. You will not be alone.
I think that's a
Yeah.
new thing. And, because I think culturally and once upon a time, you had to love all your uncles and aunties, even the creepy one, even the go hug him, go kiss him. It's respect. And now I feel like we're teaching our kids, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
If someone makes you uncomfortable, and like that was not around in my day at all, which
Me
I
neither.
appreciate for us. Um,
Yeah.
and the other thing I'm going to say, what I thought, and this is what I think is so beautiful about you as a writing, like every character is, presents themselves, but it's like the iceberg underneath. And showing Simi and Loki's families, even though they weren't
Mhm.
perfect, showed her there was something else out there. Loki
Exactly.
and Remy and his dad and the mom, and how the mom would like tuck them in and be like, "You're okay." She never had that. And so she'd seen it in
Yeah.
other people. And so just the way you use those characters to bring those points home was just quite incredible. We really
I
liked that.
couldn't agree more. You like really created this beautiful world by deepening these characters. And I had to laugh because Robin was like, "What signs are Sibby and, and
I
Loki?"
will answer this.
Dude,
I will answer this.
okay, because that
First of
also
all, I
is
do want to
like,
ask just before I'll
yes.
give people like 10 seconds to drop it in the chat, but what signs do you think they are before I answer this?
Oh
Because
my
they
God.
do have
I only
signs.
know
I know, and we're the same side, so that's not great for us. Maybe
I think Loki has to be like an air sign.
I was thinking water. Like
Libra. Oh my God, she knows, guys. I can't wait. Loki's a Virgo. Oh, no,
yes,
Christian
I
is a Virgo.
agree. I
Christian
thought
is a Virgo. Loki can't even like figure out how to, I don't know.
Crystal is right. Loki is a Leo.
oh my gosh,
Oh,
Loki is a
okay.
Leo. Absolutely.
Really
And Simi is a Libra.
oh, so you're kind of,
interesting.
what do you
Okay,
know
that's
what
my
Christian is?
rising.
Now I'm into this.
Yeah.
I want to know what people think Christian is.
What is the
Oh,
sign for lover?
Scorpio. Could be.
I think Christian's
But
a
I don't think he's
Sagittarius.
Scorpio. Oh, Crystal thinks so. I maybe it is. I now I'm in my head. Oh, a Cancer. Hmm.
No, no, Sagittarius.
Interesting. No, I don't think Sag.
I'm a Sag, so I just said that.
Christian,
I know.
Christian is a Pisces. Christian is a Pisces.
Really?
Yeah. Christian is a Pisces.
Okay. Do you do this as a part of your character development even before you write them? Like go this deep into who they are individually on the page and then insert them into the book?
I have whole character profiles, and I'm talking in depth. They're like 4 pages long, and they cover everything from height, eye color, interesting scars, traumatic childhood
Wow.
events,
Wow.
birthdays, all those kind of things. Because I need to understand my characters at a cellular level in order for me to put them on the page. And that doesn't work for every writer. It works for me. I don't do it with every single character, but the main ones I will do. So Amory had her 4 page character. So did Ophelia, so did Inkem. And then Simi, Loki, and Christian, they had smaller ones, but they still had their character profiles. And it was important for me to do that. Because when I was writing Christian, I was like, I'm not going to make you a terrible person, but you're still going to be flawed because you're human. All my characters are flawed. So
What was
you're
his
going to
flaw?
ghost her for a week.
The
You're going to ghost her.
neurodivergent bit? He was great.
Yeah, of course. And you're gonna be slightly weird. You're gonna crochet plant pot
That was
holders and pay pigs, and it's gonna be cute. So yeah.
That's human though. Like that's so
Mm,
uniquely human, right? To have these different elements of personality. Okay, I'm loving the chat and Tonya just put in the Dreamcast question, which we
I
love.
love that.
We love, if you were to imagine this going to screen, have you thought about who would play some of your
And
characters?
start with Ophelia and
Yes.
Ophelia would be Rosamund Pike,
Mm,
100%.
okay.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know about Ink. I don't know who.
Mm,
Actually, Inkem would be Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think.
okay.
I think he would be a good Inkem. I
who's that,
actually
guys?
do not know who would
I'm
who
gonna
would play
Google.
on here. I don't know who would do.
Oh.
Actually, now that I've seen Sinners, Jamie Lawson would be pretty cool.
We're all
Yeah.
split on who's seen it and hasn't seen it. I'm not going till Thursday. Now I'm like, ooh,
Okay. I'm not going to give
Ooh.
spoilers, but Jamie Lawson,
okay.
I feel like would be a fantastic
Okay.
January. And I don't know for Loki. I don't know any six actors with locks that you can think of.
I don't
I
know.
have to think they may not have locks, and I don't know any who are 6'6", but
Okay.
we'll definitely marinate on that. Come back to you. Does anyone have thoughts? Oh, Michael Ealy, we have
He's
from
probably
Oh,
short.
okay. Yeah.
Mm,
Hmm.
Okay, a couple more questions because I want to keep you to time. Ophelia's mom and dad. Because since you have a couple pages on her, like
Yeah.
there is a piece of me that was like maybe she is misunderstood or we should have more compassion for her because I do think she wore this badge of the forgotten child that had to like live through her sister's grief. Not
Mm.
excusable, but what was, and her mom didn't really show up too much. Tell
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about her.
Yeah, so again, if anyone's read Someday Maybe, you'll know that my character Aspen in that book is just a straight villain. She's just a cow. Like, there's no really feeling sorry for her too much in that. But Ophelia, I wanted to make a little bit more complex. Again, not excusing her because there's nothing that you can excuse in what she did. But she comes from a very kind of detached background where her parents is kind of that stiff upper lip,
Mm.
very reserved middle upper class British family that we don't do feelings. We don't really talk about much. I can see you're in pain, but I don't really know how to handle it. Again, dad kind of hands off, can help you with your maths homework, but that's kind of as far as it goes. So she really didn't have that kind of emotional outlet. She didn't really have she was living in the shadow of her sister's ghost and she couldn't do anything about that. But again, my sympathy for her is capped because at some point you become an adult and you have the opportunity and the means to work through that kind of trauma. If your parents are unwilling to do that with you, you do it by yourself. So I'm kind of like I wrote her to be complex, and yes, I do have empathy to her, but up to a certain point. Just up to a certain point. You don't inflict that onto other people, especially children.
I
That's not their burden to carry. So
All right, guys, we have 7 minutes left. Does anyone want
yes.
to unmic, ask a couple questions? I have some more, but I want to make sure we get everybody. What are we missing? What kept you up at night about this book?
Alicia, you're off mute.
Anybody ask me anything, and I'm fine to stay for a little bit longer if you need me to. So I'm
Don't
all
ask
good.
us. We'll keep.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, go ahead, Alicia. I think you were off mute. Did you have a question? You want to jump in?
Oh, well, I wanted to kind of go back
Yeah.
to the chosen family theme. Um, so were you trying to, when you wrote that part, as far as those her friends, were you trying to put a spiritual context on that, or where she was lacking with her real family and what she was going through, or did you know a few people besides yourself
Mhm.
who end up with a chosen family that tend to fit into that, feed that person and keep that person living, so to speak? Because I feel like without them, she wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, she probably would not have made it. So yeah, there is always a little bit of a spiritual side with everything I write. Like it's for me, I can only speak for myself. When I think of my blood family, like my immediate family, wonderful, loved. Like I spoke to my mom today, even though I speak to them every day. I speak to my parents every day, my sister every day, and that's important. But then I think of my chosen family. So Simi is loosely based on one of my best friends, Precious,
Oh.
who is like if you meet her, she's like 5 foot tall, and I call her the tiny terrorist because she's so loud. I'm 5'9.5". She's five, five. So we look like little and large, but she is the loudest, funniest. Like she's the biggest advocate for me, and vice versa. I do not think, like when I say to my partner, that is the love of my life, and where I go, she goes. So if we're getting married, like there will be a room in the house that is for Precious. That is the kind of thing, like we are tied to each other. That is my soulmate. So
Mhm.
do you know what I mean? So it's like you said, there is a spiritual side. It's important for Annie to have that because she is so alone without those people.
Yeah.
Even though she has this little sister that loves her, she has no control over how she even gets to see her little sister.
Yeah.
So the blood family, important, but these people that have seen her and have decided to love her, not out of obligation. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, let's put that in the book.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Thanks so much for that part
Thank you.
but I enjoyed a lot. I really enjoyed I felt like you used poetry on the character, the guy, I can't think of the name. But, sometimes his responses to Anuri, it would be like, man, did she bring out the poetry book on us?
Yes.
I felt like
You're like,
it was sitting
wow.
there like,
No,
what?
Alicia, that was such a great observation. And I think
Yes.
what I love about, being in the business I'm in right now is it's also very Nigerian.
Yeah.
Nigerians talk in parables and, Bible is so, and it just comes out so beautiful. And it's sometimes when we read it, being born in Canada, the US, you're like, wow, but they
Mm.
talk with these very beautiful, you know, I don't know. I do think it's an African thing, and you can maybe speak to
Oh,
it.
they do? Well, look, I'm like, oh, they do because my granddaughter's other grandmother, she's Nigerian. She give me everything but that, but I think that
Oh
may be
no.
her. I think that
Oh
may be her. I think that
no.
may be her.
Please.
And her son is very quiet. He's so quiet.
So funny.
So I don't know.
Okay, you need to come and meet my family,
Yeah.
especially my dad.
I
My dad
look,
is the
I'm
Igbo
here for the
guy.
romantic part of that because
Yeah,
my
you need to come
husband
and meet
is
my
not.
family. We are a poetic family. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
okay,
love
okay.
that. I love that. I mean, my British Nigerian ex, he got me with that poetry. I gotta say. So,
Oh.
was he Yoruba? He was Yoruba.
yeah. How'd you
Yeah,
go?
them
How'd
Yoruba
you know?
demons,
How'd
man.
you
They'll get you.
know?
They will get you. Yeah, they will get you.
Okay, we have to tap Jaleesa in because she is like, I have
Thank
got a
you.
burning question. Where are you,
Where are you,
Jaleesa? Come
girl?
off mute.
You guys hear me? We good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Hi.
first, thank you. It's 2 or 3 a.m. by now. Thank you so much for joining. Really enjoyed the video. 2 questions, if possible. One is, what did you think of the Netflix documentary? I was in the middle of reading it when it came out, and I was just like, this just blows it wide open. And then 2, I want to thank you so much for the therapy perspective in there. I'm in the mental health field. So having her go to therapy and ending it at the end with him bringing Noelle in was just perfect. We just need to pull up another chair for Ophelia. But if you don't mind touching on those
Of course, wonderful questions. Thank you so much. So yes, I have watched a Netflix documentary, and I was clicking my fingers the whole time. I was like, you see, is it not that I'm an oracle? Is it not that I'm a prophetess? I I was like, I knew this was coming. I knew when these babies started opening their mouths and when their parents are confronted with the kind of darker side of it, that all of these things were coming out. Like I didn't want to like in these kind of interviews, I don't like to go too much into the darker side because I needed to take breaks. Some of the stuff that I found during research was really disturbing and was really difficult to work through. It was not nice at all. There are some really, really disgusting creeps out there, and I didn't like it at all. So the documentary was timely, and I'm so happy that I really, really hope that people watch that documentary and that there's some kind of legislation that comes out because there's still very little protection for these children. Very, very little. And even the legislation that is being introduced some places, like in California, where they said, you must put the money aside that you make from these children in a trust. You had droves of influencer parents saying, well, we're going to move out of California then. And that just tells you, that just shows you where the motivation is, which is really sad. It's really sad. And then your second question, what was your second question again?
Therapy.
Oh, yes, the therapy. I love therapy. I have a therapist, and I have my therapist for a long time. And each time, yes, many times I want to tell her to come outside so I can fight her in the street because because she snatches me up by my neck every time. But like, it's so important to have that. I think everybody should have access to therapy. It's so important, not to just give you the answers, but to try and give you the tools to navigate life. And as you can see with Annie, she's stubborn, she's hard-headed. She's like, sometimes I still think I know better than you, the professional, but she still has that fallback, and she still has that way. And you can see immediately when she sees her sisters in distress, she's like, I need to bring her to you because you can help me.
Yeah.
So even though she fights against her therapist, she understands that, at the end of the day, that's a person that she can trust. So yeah, it was very important for me to use that.
I have a question as well.
Thanks, Lisa. Okay, who's saying that?
That's Chelsea.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge Jaleesha's blowout. I see you. I hear you. It looks great.
I said the same thing.
My question is to go back to the part where you said it gets really like gross and sick. Did you put in a part that it was going to go there in the book and then you deleted it? You said, no, I'm not going to go there. Did you
I
ever
just
do that?
alluded to it. I alluded to it in the book. I didn't want to go too much into detail because it's quite disturbing and it's really not nice. But I put enough detail in the book that people know what I'm talking about. And it's not just me that's talking about this. The New York Times, I think it was last year or the year before, released a long form article about this and about who are the viewers of these primarily girl child TikToks. And it was like 10 million or 5 million faceless men are watching these children, these girls online. And I was just like, if that's not enough as a parent, just to be like, do you know what? I think I will reevaluate how I present my child online. I was like, then I don't think that's enough for me. I felt sick to my stomach, some of the stuff that I researched and found out, but I didn't want to go into like graphic detail because I don't think anybody needed that. There's enough in the book that I allude to that people can figure out the kind of things that I saw. So yeah.
One random question, just steering us away from that. It is hard to hear, and I think a lot of us are quite oblivious to it. We're like, oh, it's fine. But do you think Onyi will finish her PhD?
I mean, and this is the thing. I don't know if you've read Someday Maybe, you know that there's a character from Someday Maybe that shows up in Allow Me to Introduce Myself.
Gloria.
And
Gloria?
oh yeah. Yeah. And in my next book, which is due very soon, there is going to be a character from Allow Me to Introduce Myself that will show up in my next book as well. So I'm not going to give anything away right now. But if you read my next book, that question will be answered.
You will read.
So,
We are very loyal.
reading.
Well, that segues into two things, but you have to talk about the candles because literally Why didn't you launch a candle line? Because we all would have
Oh
bought.
my God. We would have bought candles with the book. Are you kidding me? I was like, Tanya, should we be making
What
candles
is
for
this
this? I
candle
don't know.
smell? And if you had a candle to recommend that we go out and like, what was this magical scent that?
Mhm.
There's a candle. I went to a candle making class once, and it was one of the funnest things that I've ever done. And the essence that I used in my candle was a mixture of vanilla, orange blossom, and sandalwood. And it smelled like it was the most delicious thing I have ever smelled. And I was like, do you know what? If I started a candle business, this is the kind of scent that I would
Okay.
use. So I had that in mind. I also, it was very important for me that Anya had jobs that
Yeah.
she could do from home and that were, there wasn't like a strict timeline around them because she had other things to do. So those two things, I was like, what jobs can she have? Number one, hair, because yes, of course, her auntie taught her that. And then number two, what else? Candle, and then Findom. So all of her career is kind of like,
Well-rounded. There
yeah, well-rounded.
I love that.
Okay,
What
segue
was
us and
your
tell us about
class?
your next book before you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I don't want to give too much away. It's a departure from the first two. It's more speculative fiction. So, but there is going to be obviously all of my stories are love stories. So if you've read Someday Maybe, love story. If you've read Allow Me to Introduce Myself, there's a love story in there as well. This third book is not good, is going to feature love as well. Um, but yeah, I don't want to give too much away because I think like the blurbs and so on will come out soon. Is what I hope. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
When
And I
is
really
it to launch so we can?
Yes. What's your timeline?
I don't have a time. It will come out probably towards the end of next year, I think, but there will be previews and reveals before that, as there
Okay.
usually are.
We will be
But
waiting.
yeah,
We will be ready
yeah.
and waiting and all the things. My last question, because we have so many aspiring and not even just aspiring, but writers who,
Mhm.
are towing the line of authorship. How
Yeah.
do you carve out the time to write and manage a full-time job and be present to your family, your partner, all the things? I'm so curious.
I have no clues. That's I'm not. No, do you know what? The day job actually is helpful for me to remain creative because I have that clear delineation. I can go and talk about finance or I can go and talk about firewalls at work. And then I can log off and then immediately my spirit and my soul and my mind starts, there's butterflies and like rainbows in my head because I can turn back to my laptop and continue creating this world that I've pulled out of nowhere, which is a beautiful thing for me. I need that separation. I feel like if I just did writing full time, it would become a thing around my neck, it would become a burden.
Mm.
And I don't want it to become that. I just want it to remain this joyous thing that I do. I don't have a writing routine. I write whenever inspiration strikes, and it usually strikes the best when I am not in the UK where it's miserable. Which is why I'm in Greece. So yeah, I travel a lot, which is fantastic because I can do my job from anywhere. And for aspiring writers, what I will say is please do not get caught in the trap of perfectionism. I say it to everyone. I say it does not have to be perfect. It just has to exist. So just put it down on the page. Like when you submit to publishers, to agents, they'll come back with edits regardless. So just write what you feel. Comparison is a thief of joy. Don't compare
Mhm.
yourself to anyone else. Write what you would want to read and enjoy yourself. So
All right.
Beautiful.
We will wrap. I think, did anyone have any last questions? And I will ask a quick one if anyone doesn't have. What are you reading currently? And as I also appreciate this very much as an African Nigerian author, um, and writing your stories through the lens of like, you use the language, you didn't translate everything, you threw
mm.
phrases and stuff in there. Can you tell us some of your favorite African authors as well? So sort of two stems to one question.
So I've just finished reading Chimamanda's new book, Dream Count.
Yeah.
And I'm about to start rereading one of my favorite Nigerian authors. So Elagosa Osunde, they wrote Vagabonds, and their new book, Necessary Fiction, is out this July. outstanding author. Amazing.
Ooh.
If you like Nigerian stories, that is the book for you, Vagabonds. So you will enjoy. So a big recommendation for me on that one. And in terms of, did you say about the language in the book as
Oh, I just
well?
appreciated it because,
Okay.
you know, I,
Yeah,
I
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm very, very Nigerian. I'm Igbo, and I cannot write a story that does not showcase that. Like, I'm so proud of my heritage. And even if I wasn't proud of my heritage, my father would make me proud of my heritage. Like, so
yes,
where is the food? Where is the customs?
No
Where is
choice.
the language?
No choice.
Don't disgrace me. Put some more back in the books. Yeah, I will. It's always going to be a part of me. And yeah, anything I write, you can look forward to that. So yeah.
love that. We love that. One last question. Did you have any specific influencers in mind that made you write this book?
Yes, but I can't name them.
Okay.
Wait, come back
I
to me,
can't name
like
I can't
under
name
another
them.
name
Yes.
and just put some random names in the chat. We won't know it's you, but
I
that's
just yeah.
I
respect
love
that.
it. I
Respect that.
love it.
Thank you so much. This was incredible. I think we all think you are incredible. You're getting all the love in the chat right now.
Thank you so much.
Just know you sparked a lot of beautiful discussion in our community over the past few weeks. So just thank you.
We have all these beautiful faces that just
Oh, thank
everybody
you so
please
much, guys.
unmic,
I really
say
appreciate
your
you.
congratulations, give
Thank
her a
you.
clap.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Great
much.
book.
Like, I really appreciate the love, and this was so much fun. So yeah, next book, Tanya, please have me back. This was so much fun.
We will. We will.
And
We love it. Like, we
thank
appreciate you.
you.
Thank you for getting up in the middle of the night. And thank you for your
Of
words. This was an
course.
incredible read for us.
Thank you so much.
Have a good retreat.
Enjoy
Thank
your
you.
retreat.
Bye.
Hi,
Bye.
gang, and you don't have to go anywhere. Thanks for the love in the chat. We're here for chatting and more conversation. Unmic, pour yourself a drink, guys. I love getting off of Instagram so we can actually talk about all the things. So you don't have to turn on your camera. You can be in your bonnet, your closet, wherever you are. I need a little bit of lip balm. So what did we?
Or you can have this cool thing Dee has. I don't know how you did this little animated character. That is so cool. I've
It
never
looks
seen.
like me too, a little bit, huh?
Yeah. I was
Christy?
like, that's
Oh
so
my God, why
cool.
don't I have that?
I
He
know.
looks like a Wii character.
How do you do
Right?
that?
You
So,
probably do have it. It's
And
so
it's
low key, D, I'm gonna brag on you. D is like one of the best like graphic designers, artists in North
She's a techie.
Carolina. Like any like graphic stuff you need that's beyond that you'll never see, like shout out D. D is amazing.
AI queen.
that is awesome. We might be entering all of our meetings in
I
like
want to do
animation.
that.
I know. I didn't know
I'm
it
gonna
could
need that for work, D. I'm gonna let you show me that program for work.
save.
So I'm
Save.
showing up to my meetings. Okay, so what did we think? She was amazing, huh? So I have to turn that light off.
Love her.
I really
She
did.
was so
Her.
amazing.
Did we miss any questions from her? Anything that you guys didn't get answered? I really wish she told us tomorrow. Thanks for asking that question. I really wish she spilled the tea on like what her influencer people were.
This has been driving me crazy. I just wanted to know. I'm like, I've been racking my brain thinking about like, okay, is it the Kardashians?
She
Is
clearly
it
has somebody
no?
specific.
We
Is
should
it
have
some
started naming people, and if she started laughing, then we would have clocked it.
I don't know that
oh.
I know enough, but I went into her followers because I had this same
Oh,
question and I was like, what children are present?
FBI.
I found
Mm.
nothing. I found nothing. So
I also was like, well, Tanya, you are recording, so she's smart not to say it while you're recording.
Oh yeah, let me turn
Mm.
this recording off, y'all.
Because
Pause the
then if we weren't
recording.
recording, she would have like, all right, I'll tell
Oh,
y'all.
wait, before we get too far into the after party thing, let's talk about New Orleans. Let me just share my screen for a second because we have some great new updates. Hold on a second. Let me get the right screen up, y'all.
yes, let's do that, Tanya.
Okay, wait, let's see. Okay, so you guys, super excited for New Orleans. Memorial Day weekend. There's a lot of different ways you can participate. Number one, we talked about the full trip we have launched. It is $2,000. That includes everything. I'm going to go through our itinerary right now. But a lot of you had messaged me saying, hey, I have family I can stay with. Are there day passes? So we just launched our day passes. Okay, there's two types of day passes. The first one is for, sorry, actually, I think I'm going to start here, you guys. I'm going to confuse you. Books and Brunch with Victoria Christopher Murray. How many of you have read Harlem Rhapsody?
Oh
Because
my God. Oh,
it is so good. You are going to
so
love it.
good.
And I will tell you, I've interviewed a lot of people and authors. I really feel like they all become my friends in my head.
Mm.
This woman, Victoria Christopher Murray is over 60 for sure. She has written over 30 books and she was such a joy. Like I was blown away by how much you guys will like her. We will have to literally, I mean, we will be there with her for hours talking. We did an event at the History Museum and she was just so engaging and her book is so good. There is so much. So it will be a full spoiler read. Harlem Rhapsody, get to reading. Buy it wherever you can. And this conversation will include brunch, drinks, this. It starts at 10:30 in the morning and goes straight 10:30 in the afternoon on Saturday and goes straight through till 1 o'clock. So if
And
you want
Tanya, just to add on this piece, this is for if anyone's local or knows someone local who just wants to come for this,
to,
we had to make it available because like she's that good. This book is incredible. Um, and yes, buy them anywhere. But if you can, you all know we love to shop local. So there's a link to Baldwin, which is the bookstore, a Black-owned bookstore in New Orleans. Would love to be able to support them with our purchases, but read as much. Crystal, what's up? I see your hand.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm going to be out of town, so I can't come. But I,
Yes.
I, I read the book and I attended her book signing and reading here in Maryland, and
Mhm.
it was excellent,
Right?
excellent.
She's
So
so
you're
engaging.
in for a treat.
Yes.
Excellent.
It's great.
And the story is phenomenal. So this is books, booze, and brunch. Great day signings. I should start advertising it like that. But signings and just
Literally.
pictures, a really good time. So if you're in New Orleans and want to come for that, perfectly acceptable. Now, some of you came and said, "Well, I have a place to stay in New Orleans, etc." This is, oh well, that's not where I wanted to take you. I'm trying to drive here. This is where I'm
Next
going to
one.
take you.
Yeah.
This one. There is a weekend pass that'll allow you to stay from Friday all the way through Sunday without accommodation. So let me go through our incredible itinerary. Friday starts with our welcome dinner soiree. You guys know I'm not going to call myself corny, but I am going to say I love an icebreaker. I love fun games. I love us to all like get to know each other and like drop all the pretenses. So that's what Friday night is. If you are coming by yourself or you've never met your book besties, this is a time when we can get together, have a good time. We're going to play some bookish games. I'm just going to tell you right now, there is going to be a lit white elephant book exchange where we are going to have unreleased books that will be up for grabs. Like it is going to be a blast, blast, blast. And then we'll head out into the streets of New Orleans to walk around, hear some jazz. Saturday, of course, we've got books, booze, and brunch with Victoria Murray. And then y'all grab your hats, grab your running shoes, would you say, Jeanell? I don't know what you wear on a
Oh,
tour.
I don't know about running shoes, but comfy shoes.
Grab your comfy shoes. We are going on a swamp. We are really doing New Orleans. We are going on a real authentic swamp tour. You don't have to swim. You will not get eaten by a crocodile. You are allowed to drink wine on the swamp tour bus, but I didn't tell you that.
No,
On the
you
swamp tour
don't.
boat, but I didn't tell you that. And then we come back, we'll change again, and we'll head out to another incredible dinner and night out in New Orleans because it's Memorial Day, y'all. Like we can silent retreat read with your eyes closed in bed when you get home.
It really is. And honestly, yes, I think Tanya and I officially bonded after our nights out in New Orleans. So y'all,
Essence Book Fest. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
and Alicia, you were there. Like times will be had if you love music, if you love jazz, if you love community. What she's not mentioning is our sprinkling of surprises because we can't reveal everything throughout the weekend. But
True.
This has been so much fun to plan and pull something together.
And then Sunday. Sunday, we'll get up. We'll have breakfast, is included, of course, all days at the hotel. And then we'll do our next author salon. This will be a little bit more interactive. It's going to be the books that we're reading will not be a full read. You only have to read Harlem Rhapsody. These will be first 50s, and these books are going to be intertwined through a historical voodoo and ghost walking tour, because that's sort of the themes of the book that bring in West African culture, voodoo vibes, beautiful, incredible authors. We'll be walking through the French Quarter, seeing some of the landmarks that inspired the books. We will end with a little bit of free time so that you can wander around New Orleans, come back together for a festive shrimp and crawfish boil and a jazz cabaret night. And then we'll spend the night out again. And Monday, breakfast again as a group. And we end up. So it's going to be a great, great weekend, y'all. Any questions? What else do I have to say?
I'm like tempted to share with them one of our next authors, but we're trying to do like a slow drip.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
but if y'all like voodoo, if y'all like historical fiction, if you all want to be fully immersed in Haitian, New Orleans, like vibes, oh, I'm so excited.